Welcome to Spaghetti on the Wall, where we throw ideas, see what sticks, and nurture those that do. I'm your host, Armando Leduc, an actor, entrepreneur, and coach, giving you insights that light up your world. We're here to explore the realms of business, marketing, and life, serving up a shot of inspiration with every episode. Ready to make ideas stick and grow them into something great? Let's dive in. Boom! Spaghetti on the Wall. Another one. Hunter Burke. What's up, dude?
Oh, not much. Hey, man, I couldn't help but notice the clip of you in the intro. The FBI, what is that?
That was Valor. It was that show on the CW.
That's cool, Valor? Man.
Yeah.
You fit that FBI vest really well, man.
Thank you.
If you weren't doing all these other things, I feel like the FBI would have opened up the doors for you to get in there.
Yeah. You know, I thought about if I would be a good police officer, but I'm just not good with like seeing crazy shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
that is a deal.
Kids, you know, being hurt or people being hurt or you know what I mean? Like I can't handle that.
Yeah, that's completely understandable. It's easier to do it when we do it on TV and movies.
I could play it all day, but yeah,
right.
Not in real life. So, if you guys don't know Hunter, you're living under a rock, man. He's the Netflix heartthrob.
Man, you're already lying right off the bat, Armando. Jeez.
I don't lie, bro. It's the truth.
All right.
You just got to step into it. This is what you got to give the people what they want. That's why they.
Okay. So I'll shut this podcast down. That's and then they got it.
So how you been, man? So talk to me. We're going to talk about the film industry. We're going to talk about acting. Give us a 2-minute background on how you got where you got.
Sure. Yeah, I grew up in a small town in Broussard, Louisiana. And like most kids in a small town, exposed to movies and TV pretty early. And so I kind of set up, like when I was like 10, I was like, I want to be an actor. And that seems completely irrational when you're that age, because you also want to be a ninja and a jet pilot and all these other fanciful things. But for whatever reason, I kind of stuck to it and kept going. Got a BFA in performing arts from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. And right around that time, the Louisiana film industry was seeing a huge boom thanks to large tax incentives that the state was offering for productions to come in and shoot there. And so I moved to New Orleans and kind of started getting hooked into background work and then featured extra and then stand-in and kind of worked my way up from there to them letting me talk on television and trusting me to do that. And jury's out on it if they're still trusting me to do that. But it's,
what was your first extra role?
Okay. So, gosh, they shot a movie in Lafayette, Louisiana, a long time ago about a basketball team starring Josh Lucas. And I'm not going to be able to remember the name, but it was a Disney movie. It was a big deal at the time. It's about a men's basketball team. And I was in the stands, like among 1,000 other people.
Right.
But that's when I got the taste of like, oh, wow, I want to choose to sit on a set all day and do nothing while everything else moves around me. So changed my life.
Yeah. First extra role I did was Big Mama's House 2.
Awesome. Were you in the house or were you somewhere else?
I was in the, funny enough, like I was in a suit. They gave me a suit and I was in one of the office scenes going by, exchanging paperwork.
Awesome.
It was like,
did you try to turn toward camera whenever the camera came by? Whenever the lens
passed? No, at that point I didn't.
You were great.
No, at that point it was like I was like, super intimidated by being on set. And so I was like, all right, I'm not gonna do that. And then I got to a point where I was just like, I would just show up to set doing extra work. And I remember, what show were we on? Some series. And me and Magic Mike end up
Mike
we end up sitting in a honey wagon watching Entourage all day, and the extras wrangler is like, "We've been looking for you." Like, I've been right here, man. He's like, "You're supposed to be in the honey wagon. You understand this, right?" And I'm like, "Hey, man, I don't know what to tell you. Just, and it was I think the guy's name was Jared.
The PA.
Yeah, the PA who ended
It's
up.
awesome that you remember this.
Yeah. It was, I do remember that. I was just like, oh my God. I'll tell you this one story. I was on the movie College. You remember College?
Oh yeah, that was the first like speaking line I ever had, and they cut it.
Oh man. So I was doing extra work on that, and it was wild. Like, I mean, they were like hiring strippers from Bourbon.
Right.
It was insane, right? And we were
Yeah.
like smoking fake weed.
Where were y'all? On Bourbon Street?
No. It was like we were hanging out at the frat house, and then they
Oh,
had
okay,
that
okay.
like party scene at one of
Yeah.
the and Mini Me was there from Austin Powers.
And Josh Gad is in this movie, and he's like
Yeah.
a major star now. It's incredible.
Yeah. And so we end up like I end up bringing like a bunch of beer to set,
Brother.
and we're just drinking.
Oh no.
And then somebody found out about it, and they were like, "Who brought the beer?" And then everybody like it was a movie.
Yeah.
Set. He did
Of course.
that guy, right?
Of course.
And they were like, Armando.
Yeah.
So disappointed. And I was like, I know. And they were like, you gotta leave. And I was like, okay.
Oh, they made you leave.
And I was like, give me my beer though. I'm gonna take my beer. And so I did. I took my beer. So
yeah, you started principal.
That was the last time I did extra work, actually.
And you're like, I'm out. I just want to like go into auditions for speaking.
Pretty much.
At that time, it started to turn where they were like opening the doors to locals, right?
Yeah.
Did you have an agent by that point, or were you still trying to get an agent?
No, I had an agent. Claudia was my agent.
Yeah.
I was with the people
Icon, man.
2000, man. Yeah. So it was a cool time. But enough about me, man. I love how you do it. I love how you do it.
I just want to catch up. We're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about us.
So tell me about it's Sweet Magnolias, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about that audition process.
Yeah, like it's so often the case. This was in 2019, I think. I should really know this. Off to a great start. As 2019, I had auditioned for the show like 2 or 3 times. It was just kind of in its infancy, getting going, and I auditioned. I love my agent. He so often will submit me for the leads of things, even though my credits are nowhere near what the credits need to be. And so, like, I read for a couple of the regulars, knowing that I wasn't going to get it. It's such a long shot at that point. But then, like, they kind of incrementally bumped me down to like some of the more supporting, like, recurring roles. So I read for like 2 or 3 roles at that point, and then I was in the middle of moving back to Lafayette, Louisiana from Los Angeles. I'd just gone through a breakup, long-term relationship, and so my heart and my mind were scattered. I was so emo, just in my feelings. Oh no, I'll never love again, never work again. I get back to New Orleans. My dad picks me up, and we're driving back to Lafayette because it's like 2.5 hours from New Orleans. And I get this audition on the way, and I auditioned for the show already. And I was like, I'm not going to do this. I'm talking to my dad. I'm not going to audition. This is stupid. And he's like, well, you chose to do this. Why are you now like backing out of this? I was like, well, Dad, we're supposed to cut the grass. And he's like, the grass is fine. I got that. You do your audition. And so when we got to Youngsville, I powered a cold brew. And I did this thing, and you should never do this thing. I didn't have anybody to tape with because God knows my dad was a horrible actor. And so what I did was I memorized the sides for my side and also the other side, and I left room in them so that I could insert my voice later to be my own reader. Never do that. It was dire times. And so I put this, I spent like 2 hours doing this audition. It was only like a 3-page audition. And finally got it just right, like the balance, and sent it in. And it was like, all right, awesome. Let's cut some grass. I'm done being an actor. And then like a week later, my agent, Alex White, calls me, and he goes, hey, you got a call back for this show. And I was like, absolutely not. The one audition where I was like, oh, I'm just going to record my other dialogue and phone it in. And from then I went to the callback, and I did okay there, and then showed up to set, and I guess they enjoyed what I was doing, and I was lucky enough to get on that show for for 3 seasons, which was really fun. It was an awesome shoot. We shot here in Atlanta, and there's a lot of really fun people to work with. In a sense that like the set always felt familial, not familiar, but familial. Like it felt like a family, and everybody was out for the appropriate right thing. In that we wanted to make the best show possible, and it started from the top with Cheryl Anderson, who was the showrunner, and she just does an awesome job, kind of keeping uh, like a coach. She keeps the morale high, she keeps the direction on the road, and she kind of delivers just enough advice to kind of keep your character moving in the right direction. So I was lucky to be a part of it for as long as I was.
That's awesome, man. And so what's the acting industry like for you these days?
Um, it's funny after the pandemic and then after the strike, I think a lot of people kind of had a readjustment of how they understand where they sit in the world of acting because it is so you can build your life so dependent on it that it can become debilitating. You're living and dying by these things. And I've spent, you and I have spent so long in this industry that, you think by now we would know the appropriate way to conduct ourselves in the relationship that we have with the industry, but it's still hard. You're still so tied to it. And you still want this thing that you've been dreaming of your whole life to work on your own terms. But whenever you start to understand that the minute you build your life outside of it is the minute you kind of start to have a healthy relationship with the business, your art. And so since the strike, really, I've kind of developed a life outside of it and have begun to um, understand what I want out of this industry and what I want out of my art, which can be the same thing, but are often two separate things. And so since then, occasionally I'll get an audition. It's certainly nowhere near the glut that it was, 5 years ago for Southeastern talent. Um, but that's fine. Things change. But I think more than anything, I'm happy that I've arrived at a position in my life, at a point in my life where I have a healthier relationship with it, which is I don't live and die by the rejection or acceptance of roles, and I don't see status as an actor in shows like Netflix as a reflection of who I am, because at one point I did. And I've learned to build a life outside of that. So I guess that's kind of my relationship. Every now and then I'll get an audition and it feels fun. Whereas there was a time when it felt like a chore, like a labor. And luckily I've surrounded myself with people who encourage that type of behavior. Yeah.
Do you feel like you have to live in that? I feel like you just got to have that mindset when you're doing acting stuff. I've been out of it so long in terms of like auditioning.
Mhm.
Like, man, I just these days I don't have the drive to like jump through a hoop.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? To like
It,
get on a self tape and
right.
memorize the lines and then do the thing, and but to your point, right? It's just like because I'm viewing it as a job instead of going, oh, I get this audition. That's awesome. I get to play around.
Right. I think I totally understand where you're coming from there because for a long time, that's what it was. It was a chore and I didn't want to do it. Um, yeah, to have that understanding, I know how it changed for me. And it's funny because it became less important and that's how it changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know how to explain that. It's not that it's not important. I think there were just so many other things in life that became so important. So like I wasn't waiting around like I used to, like for an email to come through from my agent. And when it did, um, I tried to reframe how to view it, and that it was going to be fun. I was going to mess it up. It was going to be the worst thing in the world. I was going to do the worst audition I've ever done in my life. It's like, but I'm going to have a point of view about it. That was very important. As soon
Yeah.
as I started,
Yeah.
it's almost like not even reading the sides sometimes. And that sounds terrible advice because often you need a function within the script, but your character has to have a point of view. And whenever you can figure that out, more times than not, that feels like the most important thing when you're auditioning. Not even memorizing the lines. You could cue card the lines around. It doesn't matter.
100%. I agree. It is in those moments where you're just like, I don't give a shit. Like,
Yes.
don't care. right?
Yes.
I'm doing this for me. If they like it, that's great. And that's what they want anyway, right?
Right.
Like they
Yeah.
want you to bring in that perspective, that point of view that they hadn't seen, right?
Right.
And to, bring to life a character that you're just like, oh wow, I wouldn't have thought to do it that way, right? And just
I
playing opposites and the whole nine.
And I feel like specific to our generation of actor, we had this thing where self-taping became so prevalent in our age that actors had to worry about so much more than originally. Like we traded worries, right? Whatever. They had to do auditions on VHS and we have to do it on tape. But when we're having to worry about the background and the camera and all these technical things, then we're trying to get it perfect. And that
Yeah,
is the furthest thing that we should be doing at that point. And so we lost that somewhere along the way with our self tapes. We're trying to be perfect. We're trying to make this thing accessible. And look, there is a lot of merit to it being viewable for casting. That's realistic. But at the
yeah,
same time, like, you're in a hotel right now. Like the light is great. I can see your eyes. It doesn't need to be perfect. We just need to see you. And
yeah.
that's all you need to bring. And I feel like that gets muddled.
Well, and I'm a blame some of the casting directors on that too. Is like trying to make people jump through hoops on like, and you got to specifically say it this way
Right.
on this way, and like,
Yeah.
and it's like 2 pages worth of notes, and I'm like, that's your job. That's not my job. That's your job. Why are you
Right.
putting it on me to do it? Like, dude, I'm so upset with that whole process because
Right.
it's like that's not my job to label it correctly. You do it. I'm going to
Right.
give you this. You put it together. As a matter of fact, let me give you the raw footage and then you can transition all of the black and white and stuff like that. Like, why do I have to do that? Dude,
Yeah.
and that's another reason why I just became so disenchanted with that whole process. Cause it's just like, yeah, they're just making you more and more hoops to jump through,
Right.
right? When all you really want to do is just do the performance, right?
Right.
And before it was just like, well, I just show up and then you handle it, right?
Yeah.
How
I
how am I
mean,
the filmmaker now?
I think it to that point, they are, and I don't know, I really can't speak to what their motivations are behind that, but the idea that like jumping through hoops does provide like um kind of a bit of removal, like you're able to kind of suss out who really wants to do this. So I can see the motivation behind trying to weed out actors who don't want to be a part of the process, who aren't um, just completely committed to it. I get that from there, and they're also trying to see as many people as they can, which give and take, right? We all want to be seen, and they all want to see more people. Like we want them to stop pulling from the same pool of people. So I understand. It's a real pain, and I think there's blame on both sides, both the actor and the casting director, because I know I've seen
Yeah,
tapes that show up that look like absolute garbage, and it's like I get why casting really gets like tight about these confines. So I can't entirely blame them. They're also like trying to, they have a boss that they're hearing from, and the boss needs certain
sure.
things. All trickles
Yeah, I
down.
get it. I get it. I mean, just
It's endemic to the business too. That's
yeah. I
also the
mean, it's
thing.
just it
Like
is it
writ
is
large.
it's just such a lift, right? And like
Yeah.
you're people that are really good actors and actresses that don't necessarily have the tools, that other people might have the privilege of having, right? And
Right.
then, they don't necessarily get looked at in the same way, and whatever, that's might be a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day,
Right. Yeah.
but it's for me though, it just got to be like, man, I'm already jumping through hoops and now you want to like increase the amount, like you want to put
Yeah.
fire in the hoop. Now I gotta,
Right.
now I gotta jump through the fire through the hoop. Like
Yeah.
what else do you want me to do here? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that is just for an opportunity. It's not even
Yeah.
the
It's
job.
incredibly cumbersome. It is,
Yeah.
and that's so often where we just get stuck in the process. And we forget that, like, man, that art is just so awesome when you're on set, sneaking beer on set.
Yeah, no, I love. Look, I love the acting. I love acting. I love being in. That's why I'm creating my own show.
Yeah.
Right, like we're, I'm doing Life on Bourbon. We finished
Yeah.
the pilot, and I'm just going to continue shooting it. Right,
I,
like we're
yeah.
rolling in episode 2 in August, and when we're shooting it quarterly, and we're going to be putting it out, and I'm just like, I don't need the fame and the celebrity and any
Right.
of that, right? Like
Yeah.
right now I'm just having a great time being goofy, creating my own projects, being creative, and that's fine for me at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm so tired of just jumping through hoops. But
Yeah.
when you're in that environment though, like when you're in an acting class and you're around people, I think that's what got me out of it too, is that I stopped going to acting class
Right.
and
You lost
being
the
in that,
community.
yeah, and when you're not in the
Yeah.
community and you just feel like you're in a silo, and
Absolutely.
and when you go to these, part of the cool thing about going to those auditions was seeing
Yeah.
seeing the people and seeing
Yep.
seeing the people that were also auditioning for it, and the
Yeah.
camaraderie, and all right, well, hope you get it too. And that all of that's like gone. And
It's
it's just
gone. Yeah. It's a bummer. It really
it's
is.
it really is a bummer, right? Because like all of that like kept that environment of
Yeah.
why we were doing it in the first place, right? Like it was a thing to see people at an audition, right? Like,
Right.
it's like, oh man, how are you? And nowadays it's just so siloed, and everybody's just,
Yeah.
kind of operating in a vacuum where it's just like, damn, how do you, how can you get into the mental headspace? Which is why I think people love theater, is because you get to be in a group environment creating the story together, and
And
you
this
have,
also, I mean, theater feels like it's going to see a revival if it hasn't already, because it's so bereft of artificial intelligence, or like, it is in the moment. It is the truest experience we can have as an art right now, seeing as
uh,
the internet has become so degraded with, what
here, yeah.
exactly. This is a totally different conversation, but it's just inauthentic now.
Oh,
Now the authentic is live.
here's the deal. I'm at this 7-figure agency conference in Miami, right? And there was a speaker talking about what the future of marketing is going to look like, what the future of a bunch of things is going to look like. And as AI becomes more prevalent in everything, the value of it goes down. Why? Because everybody has access to it. So
Right.
there's no uniqueness to it, right? And so therefore so the things that are going to get pushed in the future are the human-based things, right?
I hope so. God, I really hope so. Yeah.
It's happening now, right?
Yeah.
Like it's happening now. Not to say that there won't be novelty and there won't be integrations. I mean, there's already integrations. You look at Marvel. I mean,
Right. Yeah.
was Iron Man and Spider-Man in space? Like, no.
Yeah.
Right? We've already seen the integration, but there will always be a place for that human element,
Yeah.
right?
I hope so. Yeah.
I mean, you're already starting to see it. You know what I mean? And more people are searching for that community, searching for the human interaction. Like, so I think it's a pendulum. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just gonna swing back and forth.
Yeah.
So I see it as a good thing, right? Because the more, look, AI is here to stay, and it's
Right.
disruptive, but you just got to adapt and learn to use it and incorporate it, right? Like nowadays, you wouldn't even have to act by yourself.
I mean, this isn't even my real face. This is all AI. So
You put it in an AI,
yeah, this is a filter. This is
yeah.
the idiot filter that it gave me, which is great. It's perfect.
So yeah, man. So as you're navigating, this sort of new landscape for you, how are you navigating? Are you finding communities? Are you doing things that keep you engaged in that headspace?
Right. Yeah, I think so. Someone told me the other day, I was always like, I'm just an actor. And somebody mentioned the other day that, like, well, you're a writer, you're a storyteller, you're an actor, you're interdisciplinary artist. And I was like, that's a great word. That's a Scrabble word right there. Um, and so I kind of start to like, I zoomed out a little bit and started to get a little bit more of the macro, which is an understanding of like, I want to be an artist. And however that comes into my life, I'm going to allow it because for so long I was just pushing, trying to make things work. And that just did not work out.
Hmm.
And so now it is about, incorporating other versions of art into my life. Reading, it's as simple as going to art museums because there's this wonderful thing that happens that when you see these like impressionistic paintings, these works of art, like you have an opinion about them. And again, art is all about having an opinion. So like you start to flesh out your world as a human when you start to do that. So that's number one. Just be the most aware, curious, empathetic human that I can be. That's step one. A lot of that is like not being on the internet and reading all the vitriol that's going on. Um, it's tough, but also along with that comes specifically with acting. I had the opportunity to work with a company here in Atlanta called Get Seen, and more or less I'm a mentor for a couple of actors who were just starting out. And I have to tell you, Armando, this is one of the best experiences I've ever had because it's taking the focus off of me. God knows I have too much of that already on myself. And it's putting the focus on how I can lend my advice, my expertise, whatever that may be, to a generation who are just coming up through the ranks. And that has been really wonderful because it's allowing me to look back through my catalog of knowledge and process my experiences and also pass along this information. And also to understand that just because it worked back then, it's not going to work again, but I can at least give my opinion on how it might shift.
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah.
of being, it's not the right word, but um, be a vessel for these folks who are kind of thirsting for knowledge about what it is that I have a few more years in. So that's been really helpful, Armando. Like to answer your question, that keeps the community aspect of it going.
Yeah.
I have a couple of friends in the industry. I have a lot of friends outside of the industry, which is very helpful because I can talk to them and they're like, "Oh man, I'm a doctor. You should hear about my day." And I'm like, "Let's do that. I want to hear about that."
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Um,
I was in 2012, the New Orleans Museum of Art brought an exhibit called Lifelike. Did you ever get to see it?
uh-uh.
Dude, incredible, incredible exhibit. So basically, this entire movement of artists painstakingly recreated everyday objects, right? An entire like building, for instance, this guy took a marble piece and he carved out a bulging garbage bag out of it, right? Like you
Oh
would look
yeah,
at it like 3 inches from it, and you would seriously believe it was a plastic
that's amazing.
garbage bag, but
Yeah,
made out of marble.
yeah.
This guy recreated his home, his home in the 1970s, recreated it by taking pictures and going and finding the exact wallpaper from the exact manufacturer, like at Goodwill's at whatever, to like find the exact one, washer and dryer, dining room table, refrigerator, like the entire, and you walk through it, right? And you recreated it for the sake of the art itself.
Yes.
Right? Like it wasn't,
Yes.
it was the journey of the creation.
Yes.
That was the point, right?
That's
And
it.
all of these, and I was like,
That's the source code, Armando. That's it right there.
dude,
For
it
the
was
process, not the result.
every single time. And so like that changed the game for me in my acting world
Right.
up to that point, because I was chasing the result, chasing the ending, chasing the, whatever it was. And I wasn't concerned with the now and the just doing it because that is the point of it, right?
Yeah.
Like diving into the character and knowing all of the nuance and spending time there is the point, not getting the role, not getting.
Yeah.
And it was, golly, man, it was one of those fork in the road moments for me that like I was like, what is the point? Is that is the point? Like,
Yeah.
are we enjoying the ride?
Yeah.
Everybody's just so focused on the get. Everybody's so focused on the result. Everybody's so focused on, you know, just achieving it and arriving. And I read, I had Gino Wickman on my podcast. He created a thing called EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Okay.
Huge deal in like the entrepreneurial world. But he wrote a book called Shine, and it was basically like shedding all of the stuff that we just kind of compile on ourselves from childhood trauma, whatever, right? And we're living not authentically because of it, right? And
Right.
his book is really geared towards entrepreneurs or just high achieving people that are always on the search for the thing.
Hmm.
And that when they get the thing, they realize that there's nobody there.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just a
empty.
vending machine.
Yeah.
Nobody there. You're just, you know, there's no party. There's no, you know, hey,
Yeah.
you got to the top. Like, and they just feel so empty. And they
Yeah.
spent all of that time achieving and trying to get to that thing that the entire journey, they missed it. Right.
Yeah.
And that was the entire point of the life, is the journey itself. Right. Which was
Yeah.
also a mind blowing, you know, epiphany when you know, start to sit back and go, damn, I'm doom scrolling. I'm getting
Yeah.
caught up in, you know, I'm getting caught up in BS that I shouldn't even be getting caught up in. Like, how am I enjoying my life? How am I, you know, reading books and going to art and listening to music and enjoying, you know, like, what a blessing that AI can give us into giving us the time back to do the things that we should be doing in our lives, which is enjoying ourselves, partaking, which is why I love the podcast, by the way. I love my podcast because I get to like have
Right.
conversations and break bread and, you know, and connect, right? Like, which is the whole point of this ride.
Yeah. It's true.
It's just been, yeah, it's just been it just, it takes away from it sometimes because I'm a driven individual and I'm always constantly like, you know,
Looking to
on
the next thing. Yeah.
30,000 things going on. But you know, when I sit around and I'm like, dude,
Yeah. Look at
Miami,
that.
you know what I mean? Like, it's a really cool space. I'm enjoying myself, and I'm like, am I enjoying myself? Yeah, I need to stop and like
Yeah.
take a moment and go, dude, look at where you're at. This is a really cool spot. I'm
That's right.
enjoying it. Enjoy it.
It's true. That's the point.
That's the point. So if y'all are sitting around worried about AI, if you're sitting around scrolling on Facebook and there's so much bad news and all of that stuff, you just gotta just remember that it's about the journey and what you choose to look at and the perspective in which you choose to look at it, what the mindset is. Hunter, where can they find you? How can they follow you?
Oh man, please don't follow me. I've got nothing of value to offer.
This is
But
not true.
yeah, yeah, maybe. If you must, I'm on Instagram. At geez, I don't. My handle is at I am Hunter Burke. I think that's what it is. Jesus,
You're
real
such a
real prepared today. Awesome, good job.
humble dude, bro. You're
Yeah,
good.
it's all garbage.
You're such
And then I'm on Facebook and I'm on X. Probably way too
IMDb,
much.
looking him up. Yeah, look him up on IMDb. I
Yeah.
know he's a humble guy, but
Oh, look
amazing.
me up on Letterbox. Let's connect on Letterbox and let's connect on Goodreads, that kind of stuff. I love it. Goodreads is the one like, what are you reading? What do you want to read? I love that stuff. And then
Oh,
it's
really?
Letterbox is the one for movies where it's like, what are you watching? What do you like it? I love that social media is right up my alley.
What are you reading?
Right now, I'm reading a nonfiction book called The Wager by David Grann, who's apparently one of my favorite writers. He's awesome. It's about the shipwreck in the middle 1700s. This British vessel is sent to attack these Spanish ships, but they have to go around the Cape Horn, which is at the bottom of South America. But it's one of the most treacherous waters to have ever existed because that's where Antarctica and South America meet, and it's also like where the weather is especially bad always. And the Pacific runs uninterrupted into the, or sorry, the Atlantic runs uninterrupted into the Pacific there, so the waters are terribly rough. And it's about this account of, you know, this shipwreck and this mutiny, and it's truly amazing. It's the guy that wrote Killers of the Flower Moon. He also wrote The Lost City of Z. He's just an incredible nonfiction writer, and highly recommend The Wager. It's in paperback now, so.
The Wager is in audio. Is it in Audible?
I'm sure it is. Yeah. I mean, this guy he's a bestseller in the New York Times, so he's a big dog.
I've been listening to a lot of business books lately.
Nice.
But
what about you ever read anything by Morgan Housel?
No, who's that?
He's the art. Geez, I bring him up. I'm not even gonna remember what his book is called. I want to say it's like something, The Art of Money, or he's got a podcast. It's like these 15-minute increments. Morgan Housel. He's really good.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah.
Go for Stupid by Steve Sims. It's really
Okay.
good. Really good book. This guy, he creates these incredible experiences for people. Like I think he rented out a museum in Rome and had Andrea Bocelli sing personally to this like couple, you know what I mean? Like that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Those kind of experiences that, you know, that's like, oh, you want to meet Journey? How about you sing a song with them on stage?
Oh,
like
so he's like a concierge. Like he arranges for these like very high profile types of.
Yeah. And so the book Go for Stupid is like, why are you limiting your thinking and like wants on what on like the limiting beliefs that you have about what could be possible, right? Instead of, why don't you just go for stupid? Like, actually go for, you know, the moon.
The like ridiculous thing. This is interesting because this is kind of how I approach my auditions now, which is like, go for stupid, like do the dumb thing, like to the detriment or to the success, whatever that happens, because it's about the experiment.
You're having a good time doing it, right? Like it's more fun that way. It's more exhilarating. It's not safe. And so that's the point of the book, really, is just like, you know, are you living in a way where you're, you know, where you're living in abundance and you're not having this limiting belief about what, you know, what could be. And that the universe will conspire to give it to you, you know.
That's great. Steve D. Sims, that's his name?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
I just found it. Awesome. I'm gonna check it out.
And he's it's a good Audible. He's got this really fun accent. So
have you talked to him on the podcast?
I haven't. I'm gonna I'm inviting him to my podcast though.
Oh, that's great, man. I'm gonna be tuning in for that. It sounds awesome.
Yeah, man. I've had some really killer authors come on board.
That's cool.
And really cool stuff. So Hunter, man, bro. It's good to see you.
It's great to see you, man. I wish we could share more tales of coming up in the New Orleans scene, but I'm sure those are probably best left off the mic.
No, maybe we will. Maybe we will.
Part 2, the horror stories of New Orleans acting.
Well, so a lot of in Life on Bourbon, the project that I'm writing, I wanted to tell a story from my 20s and 30s of me working on Bourbon Street, being an actor, being a complete dumbass, right? Not that I'm less of a dumbass these days.
Yeah, you get older.
Yeah, but you know, my 20s and 30s of all of the crazy, you know, funny, fun stuff that happened to me. So I have a character played by Aaron Romano, who is playing sort of an earlier version of myself. Right?
Oh, that's cool. You flipped it.
Yeah. So I'm playing Leo. He owns a marketing agency, but he also owns a bar on Bourbon.
Okay.
And constantly like in the Bourbon Street world, but he's also in this like high level marketing agency, and those worlds collide because a lot of the people that work on Bourbon also work in the marketing agency. And they're all like, dude, why do we have these idiots working at the marketing agency? Just keep them there, you know? But they're also high, you know, the Alfredo character played by Aaron is also like a high performing sales guy, right? But he's also the DJ for the Bourbon Street Club.
Right.
We're like, well, we can't fire him. He's a great sales guy, you know, but he's toxic. You know what I mean? So he's always bringing in like toxic energy and just dumb shit and super impulsive. So I wrote it kind of in the vein of like 30 Rock meets Suits, right?
Oh, cool.
So those two worlds collide because we work with a lot of attorneys, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, things are always going down with the marketing agency, but then like Bourbon Street also has stuff going on. So that world, you know, clashing, I thought was a fun concept.
That sounds great. Where can I watch that?
We're going to, so I think a lot of projects are moving into like TikTok and vertical form.
Right, yeah.
So I think we're going to release it vertically on, you know, like on TikTok in these incremental, you know, sort of part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. So
Nice.
we shot 56 pages.
Oh, wow.
And so I think, yeah, I know it was insane. It was insane, dude. Like producing, directing, acting, like I wrote it. It was just, you know,
yeah,
ADD brain like crazy. But I had
a
really awesome crew that made it easy. But yeah,
awesome.
like the actors are amazing in it, and I'm just, you know, just gonna use, you know, more New Orleans talent. So expect a phone call.
Oh yeah. If you guys need a jerk, I'm right there.
Yeah, man.
Somebody to come in and be a complete. I don't know if
I'm gonna make it a series, you know, make a New Orleans series, and it's gonna be, you know, Bourbon Street specific, but you know, all of the craziness that happens, and you know, and I'm not gonna have gumbo parties and, you know,
K-Ville, baby. What a pull. Damn, Armando.
Party. Be like,
jeez, that's awesome. I completely like memory hold that idea. That is incredible.
Yeah. I thought about putting it in just as a nudge to the people that remember it. Be like, hey, we're gonna have a gumbo party. Be like, gumbo parties don't exist. Be like, well,
according to K-Ville, this
right?
one season show,
a whole new tradition started, right? So now they're gumbo.
That's funny.
So anyway, it was dude, pleasure.
Yes.
Thanks so much. Y'all follow Hunter. Y'all look him up on IMDb, watch his stuff. It's awesome. I appreciate you being here. And Spaghetti on the Wall, brought to you by LeDuc Entertainment. For all of your production needs, hit us up. If you need us, keep watching, keep listening, and we'll see y'all next time.